He wanted to see additional measures introduced like border controls before reopening the economy. Deputy Danny Healy-Rae warned about the impact on small businesses, and on the hard shoulder this evening he dismissed a claim he drives a Mercedes for work.
I'm very proud of it. I have an old Jeep that's 1990 and that's what takes me up and down to the farm and maybe in and out of work sites.
That's it for now. More in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our best discounts on car insurance online. Go to the aa.ie.
Very cold overnight with a severe frost and icy stretches. It'll be mostly dry though, with isolated showers of hail or snow at times. Breezy as well, with lowest temperatures of -4 to +1 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette, we don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters.
This is News Talk.
Hello there, you're welcome along. Good show this evening. Niamh Briggs, Keith Wood with us on Wednesday Night Rugby. Johnny Sexton is not impressed with his former neurologist over in Paris, to say the least. We'll have Christopher Clary from the New York Times this hour. Always a really good guest talking tennis. Australian Open progressing smoothly, all things considered. Serena Williams looking very sharp as well. Then on the football show between 9 and 10, in light of the Mike Dean death threat, we'll talk to former Premier League referee Dermot Gallagher, depending on where you're from, about the trials and tribulations of the profession. Plus Richard Dunn will join us on Man City. They're obviously cruising at the moment. We'll talk about that. And watching Phil Foden go from ball boy to boy wonder. 53106 is the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richard McCormick, evening.
Joe, good evening.
Nathan Murphy, hello.
Hey, Joe.
I don't know, did you see the footage of Phil Foden as a ball boy for Richard Dunn, Manchester City, going around on Twitter earlier today?
Yeah, I think this is going to become a more regular thing, though, because most clubs now use their academy players as ball boys. So you'll get a lot of those shots, and also it means they can do a little bit of training with them in terms of whether they want to slow things down or whether they want to speed things up, as Liverpool did that time with Trent Alexander-Arnold, where I think the ball boy was well aware. We saw Jose Mourinho, there was a similar situation. It was covered well in the Amazon documentary, where they got a quick fire goal because the ball boy had been told to get it in. So it's still a remarkable story for Phil Foden. It's incredible how one match has transformed him into this absolute superstar. I know he's been building towards it, but even at half-time in the game on Sunday, I know Damien Delaney was on co-commentary, was wondering about potential changes that City might make, and of the front three, maybe Foden was the one playing through the middle that Gabriel Jesus would come on in place for. But just in that second half, for 20 years of age, to play in a system as tactically difficult as Pep Guardiola sets them up, and to look so comfortable, yeah, he has a big future. It's a shame he's English and is playing for a team that probably won't play like the national team, and you would worry that he'll end up with one of those English careers where they're never quite sure where to play him, because when you do look at him, you wonder, like, what is his best position? Because England, I can't imagine, going to play with a false nine like he played with for a good chunk of the game the last day.
Seems unlikely, all right. Pep was even saying after the game that Foden was in the wrong position for a lot of the first half. But he'll learn. Don't worry, he'll learn. I'll teach him. So he's in good hands. Graham and Santry in early on the texts. Lads, cut the crap. Jesus, I mean, Graham, give us a chance. How much crap have we to cut this early in the chat?
6 minutes in.
Not even. I'd say 2 minutes. Lads, cut the crap. Where was the emergency Jordan Spieth is back podcast on Saturday night? Wow.
Oh, what a glorious weekend.
Oh, God.
I've been thinking about this for the last couple of hours in preparation for tomorrow's Golf Weekly.
Non-stop even.
What is it about Jordan Spieth? What is it about this incredibly, in some ways, plain, dull sportsman that is just so goddamn electrifying?
You're recognising yourself in him.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment, maybe, Richie.
Yeah, you do that.
It is strange that, like, what is it about Spieth that makes him stand out from all his contemporaries, from Justin Thomas, even from Brooks Koepka, who's won more majors, even in a way from McIlroy. There's a warmth towards Spieth from almost everybody who watches golf, with the exception of Peter Lowry, towards Spieth for the way he conducts himself. And is it the drama that he's won his tournaments with, the way he talks to the golf ball, that you sort of get inner sense of him that you don't get from anybody else. But goddamn, it was good to have him back.
Oh, goddamn, it was good to have him back. It's all of those things, I think. The way he talks to his ball, he's so expressive. Also, he's so vulnerable, isn't he? I mean, his game feels a bit rickety by comparison with all the big boys. It feels like he's almost disadvantaged somehow and is doing these amazing things by stealth or by force of will almost. You know, the way he won the Open that time is still, I think, my favourite Sunday of golf I've ever seen, when he ended up in the driving range and somehow made a miraculous bogey and then holed the putt on the next hole from about 35 feet and just pointed to Greller and said, pick it up, just pick it up, I'm going next tee. It's just, all of those things are glorious. And then at the same time, he can shoot himself in the foot and then frankly in the head at the 12th at Augusta. And there is this vulnerability to him. And, you know, when he's putting well, which he was on Saturday, for people who aren't following it, Spieth, the boy wonder, and, you know, has won majors in no time and looked to be like, is this guy going to win more than Tiger? You know, for a while, has just gone off a cliff. He has disappeared and he's lost his superpower of putting, and he's tried to, you know, make his swing a bit more orthodox and has got lost, as often happens in golf. So for the first time in a long time on Saturday, he shot a 61 in Phoenix and like electrified the golfing world. But he was putting amazingly well again on Saturday, Nathan. And the thing about Spieth when he's putting well is that everything is suddenly possible. Like a 30-footer is, he's going to make this. I just know he's going to make this. And then he did it on the 17th? And again, I was just like, oh, why am I so into this? He's like this, you know, as you said, if you don't follow golf, fairly missable kind of character. But when you get to know him, really intelligent, really witty, really charismatic, good all-rounder.
And as you say, when you get to know him in our way, which is just sit endlessly watching every Jordan Spieth press conference and interview, wondering, is this the moment when he's back? It was a shame it fell apart, but you always felt it was going to. Yeah. He is this generation's Phil Mickelson in that there's the love of the crowd there. There's the wildness that even when it all went horribly wrong and he went in the water on Sunday, as he still had a bit of a chance, you sort of expected it, but you were still thankful that he even gave you the 68 holes of being in contention. And I think there was that towards Mickelson as well, that pure talent-wise, obviously he was never going to be Tiger Woods, but there was an element of drama to him, an element of unpredictability that was almost a counter to what Woods' just demolition of the field, that it was a bit more human maybe than what Tiger was doing.
Yeah, it seemed like what he was doing was impossible as well, with his rickety swing and the wildness. I mean, it was kind of, it felt like this can't be sustainable when he was winning those majors and just holding putts from everywhere. This just can't last. And then it just kept on lasting. And now we've hit the cliff. So all the people who said in the first place, yeah, he was never going to sustain this. Peter Lowry made that point. They're sitting smugly right now, but we got a glimpse maybe of what's possible. By the way, he was first with his irons over the week. He was third last off the tee. I mean, his driver is still a disgrace.
And even watching some footage of him today, how nervous he was at different times, and his pre-shot routine where the sweaty palms, and there's gone over to the towel on 4 different occasions. There's on the back of the pants on 4 different occasions before he can actually stand up to hit the ball. So there's all those quirks that are there. But the one thing that was always there with Spieth, you knew, was a work ethic, that as difficult as it was heading out of the world's top 100, that it wasn't because the money, the fame, the success had gone to his head. Something had just gone horribly wrong, but that he was still putting in the hours to somehow get it back. And the great thing about Spieth is, you head to Augusta, he's shown a bit of form already this season. You know he can play that golf course arguably better than anybody but Tiger Woods. You know that there's something around Augusta that even when he was really struggling back in 2018, he can turn up and he can turn it on around Augusta. So he's always going to have a chance there. So, yeah. What a start to the golfing year, eh?
Listen, it's been incredible. It's been one of the more exciting starts to any golfing year ever. I mean, and even just a month ago, there was that footage of Spieth on the range and he was re-gripping the club compulsively before he could hit a shot. And when it was taking an age to start the swing, he was just looking down at the ball and jittery. And you thought, it's over. It's over. I'd given up on him in a way. But
Richie,
he's back.
Come on.
Richie, stay with us. Huh? Come on. We're up and running. So the news round on Off the Ball on News Talk is with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters. And Richie, you're starting with the FA Cup action this evening.
Yeah, just keeping tabs on this one now because Swansea have gotten the goal back. They were 3-0 down to Manchester City. The came from Kyle Walker on the half hour. Raheem Sterling made it 2-0 just 2 minutes into the second half. And then with 5 minutes played of the second period, Gabriel Jesus seemingly put the tie beyond Swansea, but they pulled a goal back through substitute Morgan Whittaker, set up by Ryan Manning, who started tonight's game. Conor Harahan started on the bench, and he has been in form lately, but it seems like they didn't need him tonight, or felt they didn't need him tonight. 3-1 to City as they head into the final few minutes of that one. Earlier today, sticking with the Swansea team, the death was confirmed of their former goalkeeper, along with the former Everton and Wales goalkeeper Di Davies, at the age of 72. There's a 7:30 start tonight to the meeting of Leicester and Brighton. That's at the King Power. Well, at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United play hosts to mid-table championship side Bristol City, and there's an 8:15 kick-off to the All-Premier League clash of Everton and Tottenham. That one is at Goodison Park.
Johnny Sexton.
Yeah, the doctor who claimed Jonathan Sexton had suffered 30 career concussions has apologised. Dr. Jean-Francois Sherman worked with the Ireland captain during his time at Racing 92. Sexton is currently observing the return to play protocols, having sustained a knock to the head in last week's defeat to Wales. And here's what the Ireland captain had to say today about Dr. Sherman's remarks.
Yeah, I'm pretty saddened and shocked by the inaccurate reports that were thrown out yesterday, I think it was. We've been here before, Michael, and it's very frustrating. And you know, for me, I just think it's totally inappropriate that a doctor that I have seen many years ago now felt it was appropriate to come out and talk to whoever it was and say those things. It's inaccurate and highly inappropriate, and yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. But for me, I'm so used to it that it's almost like water off a duck's back to me. But for my wife and mum and stuff like that, it's very very upsetting. But that's the world we live in, and I don't really want to talk too much more about it. Like I said, it was inaccurate, and just got to focus on this week and the return to play. If I don't pass one of those stages, I won't play. If I do pass them, well, then I'll be fit to play, and whether I play or not is down to the coaches then, and that's the way we've always done it. And I trust the medicals guys here. They look after us incredibly well, and I will continue to trust them.
Dr. Jean-Francois Sherman, he was on the radio in Paris. That's where this all emanated from. He was the neurologist who stood Sexton down for 12 weeks in 2014 when he was at Racing. Now, he said a lot of things, but naturally enough, what made the headlines was, I think Johnny Sexton has had around 30 concussions across his entire career. See where Sexton's coming from here, Nathan?
Well, for your doctor to go on national radio and discuss your private affairs in the build-up to a match against your home country seems unprofessional, to put it mildly, and seems as though it has the main aim of disrupting Ireland rather than actually being for the well-being of Johnny Sexton. And you can understand why Sexton is incredibly frustrated by it. And he always does seem to be, I think, maybe at his most cantankerous when other people are making presumptions on his behalf or talking about him on his behalf. And it's difficult around concussion because there is a constant concern, I think, amongst a lot of people around Johnny Sexton's well-being. He clearly doesn't feel that it's warranted. He doesn't feel that it's warranted this week, that if he passes the return to play protocols, well, then that should be that. There is probably a greater issue, though, in that Sexton is the biggest name in Irish rugby. He's arguably the biggest name in rugby in the Northern Hemisphere, and concussion is a huge topic. So when he suffers a head injury, I think it's going to always get a bit more of a focus than it would if it was anybody else. And he obviously doesn't like talking about it. And I can understand in this scenario why he's extremely peeved, that somebody you would feel that, regardless of whether he was stepped down for 12 weeks or not, that you would feel whatever conversations you had were private, and that if there were concerns, if there were 30 concussions, that, like, has this been passed on to the Irish medical team? We simply don't know. But I don't think this is going to go away. Anytime Johnny Sexton, because of his stature, gets a knock to the head, these sort of questions about his well-being at his age are going to come up.
Very much so. Dr. Sherman has been speaking again today, you mightn't be surprised to hear. Regarding my interview on Sexton, I did not want to talk about 30 concussions, but instead concussions and sub-concussions. which is a hell of a point of a distinction to make. He said, if you ask most rugby players, they'll tell you they've suffered numerous concussions in their career, which are hardly ever declared. For Sexton, we can therefore absolutely not speak of 30 concussions. We absolutely cannot speak of 30 concussions. I should not have cited this figure without any explanation, and I regret the damage I have done to the player who was my patient and, I love this line, whom I respect more than anything.
Clearly not.
Like, do you really? Do you?
Clearly not.
He finished off, by the way, by almost going out to bat then for Sexton's participation at the weekend. He said, my experience as a neurologist, I followed over 1,500 concussed athletes. He said, in terms of coming back to play here, the most important issues for recovery are having concussions close together, maybe the fact as well that the last concussion took a long time to go away, or the fact that the player might be under 20 years of age because there's an extremely serious risk of second impact syndrome. He said, clearly, if Johnny Sexton hasn't had a concussion for over a year and he's asymptomatic at 48 hours and the tests are good and the recovery protocol has gone well, there is no issue with him playing against France, which is quite the about turn, I have to say, Dr. Sherman. So there we are. Sexton is to have another test after his press conference this afternoon. It's probably already happened, and then if that goes well, another one tomorrow. There's the various stages coming back to play, but they seem optimistic. So that's where we are. That's where we are on Johnny Sexton. Where are we going next, Richie?
GA, Joe, Colin Keyes tweeting in the past few moments, the Independent's GA correspondent, saying the GA has confirmed that no resumption of any activity, training or games until Easter at the earliest. That follows a meeting this week with government officials. It raises the prospect, Colin says, of a club first season once again. So that's no resumption of any activity in the GA until Easter at the earliest. It kind of plays into this as well because Down football manager Paddy Talley has seen his ban reduced from 12 to 8 weeks by the GA's Central Hearings Committee. Talley was banned for a breach of the GA's stop on collective team training. He still has the option of taking his case to the Central Appeals Committee. Should the 8-week ban be upheld, then Talley will miss Down's first 3 games in this season's Allianz Football League. That's now likely to change as a result of this new outlook from the GA.
And sorry, Rich, that breaking news again. Any activity, any GA activity, so training included?
Training included, training, games, any activity until Easter at the earliest. And a meeting with government officials did take place this week between the GA and them. So,
this
long finger.
One of those years where Easter's particularly early, is it? Like early March?
No.
Early April, I think.
Early April, Pancake Tuesday.
Mid-February?
Yeah, it still feels we're back to a position where we were almost exactly a year ago in terms of how seasons will go, and there's so many implications to that. And I always bring it back home to young kids who are away from school, who have nothing to do all weekend, who can't see their mates. It affects them. It affects the adults who want to get out for a bit of fitness. It obviously impacts the GEA financially in an enormous sense if the championship can't get underway again until late autumn into the winter. And then you're into, well, actually, does that raise the possibility of maybe supporters are going to be allowed back in, even though that feels a long way away? So when these announcements come, as much as you've sort of suspected and as much as time passes quickly and Easter isn't that far away, it's a bit of a hammer blow for just people's morale who want to get out and want to have some sort of a rhythm to their life that just isn't there at the moment.
It sure is. M in Cork wonders, did that doctor break patient confidentiality when he spoke about Sexton? Surely the medical council in France should sanction him. It's totally out of order. I presume he did. You know,
we haven't words, certainly.
I would have thought it's pretty close to it. I mean, maybe he would argue that he's basing the 30, as he says now, concussions and subconcussions on his experience of watching Sexton over the last decade as opposed to his treatment of Sexton as his doctor. But it's cutting it close if he hasn't completely crossed the line. And
well, he'd be basing his knowledge, he'd be basing that theory that Sexton has suffered 30 concussions based on the, 2 years, 3 years that they spent together in France. So he'd be extrapolating upon the figures that he already knew, which would be putting himself in a rather ropey position. And I think that's why he was so quick to come out with a fairly fulsome retraction of what he said, because if he is doing that, then he would find himself in a huge spot of bother.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. I mean, he could make the argument, I'm basing it on just watching Johnny Sexton as a fan on my couch, but
He doesn't have that luxury.
Doesn't
If
seem
that
very
was the
credible.
case, and I know Sexton took a bit of a knock or some sort of a knock at the weekend, but come out 6 months ago and have this conversation, not 4 or 5 days before Ireland are playing France, playing your home country, where it does feel as though you're trying to put a bit of pressure on Ireland not to select them. There must be a whole lot going on in Johnny Sexton's mind right now that isn't just focused on the game on Sunday, when every second article is questioning whether he's having a real dip from where his peak was, whether he should be just taken out of the team for the betterment of Irish rugby so that there could be some long-term planning put in place. Every Ireland match now seems to almost revolve around some sort of Johnny Sexton issue.
Yeah, it must be very difficult. It must be a lot of strain on him, and he's captaining the side as well, and he's going through the protocol, so I don't know to what extent he can even train at the moment. And the other thing about these articles are about the people saying it's time to bring him out of the team, and I'm not for a second saying that they're not fair points to make or good conversations to have. You know, they're going to be proved right pretty soon, because he's 35 years old, so that day is fast approaching, you know, and Sexton knows that, so it's almost a pity that his final could be his final Six Nations, who knows, but his final year to two in the Irish shirt now, this is the conversation. Like, is Johnny Sexton up to it anymore? Is he good for the team anymore? Does he have too much power in the team? Does he have too much influence? Shouldn't we just get rid of him and get someone else in for 2023? That'll be part of the conversation we're having with Keith Wood and Niamh Briggs later on here. So we're by no means separate from it. But it's a pity when you think about it. He's been such a brilliant player, made his debut in 08. He has 97 test caps, and it would seem, Nathan, that the last year to 2 to 3 of his career, however long it extends with Ireland, is going to have this background pretty much at every turn now, I think.
Well, when he was with us here and Off the Ball a couple of weeks ago talking to Jerry, he brought that up several times, that he doesn't know when it's going to end. And I'd imagine it's frustrating when you're in his position and people are saying, well, maybe he should just step away a little bit so that he's still there by 2023, but that there's somebody else with a good bit of experience. And he's looking at thinking, well, I could pick up an injury in 6 months' time, and this would be my last Six Nations. So I want to go out by trying to win that Six Nations. There are no guarantees that by Sexton giving somebody some game time that he's going to be around for a World Cup in 2.5 years' time. So he understandably is going to be somewhat selfish. It'll have to be taken out of his hands, but that's an incredibly difficult decision when, again, who is the obvious replacement? If it's Harry Byrne, is Harry Byrne going to be playing for Leinster for the next 18 months? Because Sexton's still going to be there. Ross Byrne is still going to be there. So maybe Irish rugby's in a unique position where they can make that decision and Harry Byrne gets fast-tracked for club and for country. But it's an incredibly complicated scenario that I'm sure Sexton is thinking, well, if I am still the best in this position, why would I be the first guy to just voluntarily step away?
Yeah, no, it's all very tricky. I will move on, but just one point, I'll make it with Keith and Niamh later on. Rory O'Connor had a very interesting piece during the week in the Irish Independent, and he was just saying 2015 Ian Madigan World Cup quarter-final against Argentina. That was his 6th start for Ireland. The previous games were against the likes of USA, Canada, Georgia, Romania, one against Scotland. Fast forward 4 years, Jack Carty against Japan. That was only his 2nd start for Ireland. One of them before that being in a World Cup warm-up game. Now there was Joey Carberry's injury and there was the Paddy Jackson situation, but still we were in the same position again at a World Cup. And fast forward 2023, if Harry Byrne is the one, and everybody who's anybody at the moment in rugby punditry is saying Harry Byrne is the one. So at the moment, in 2023, Harry Byrne will be 24 years old. That's a good age. So if he's as good as everybody is saying he is, Brian O'Driscoll said it on Monday, then he'll be ahead of all the rest come 2023. Now, at the moment, for Ireland, Harry Byrne will be lucky at this trajectory to have 10 starts under his belt at a World Cup.
But if Harry Byrne is all that, surely he'll be ahead of Johnny Sexton by 12 months, 18 months' time.
Well, I'd say he'd need to be in 12 months' time if he's going to prepare himself for the World Cup, yeah. If Byrne is going to be all that and he's going to be playing at the World Cup as a 24-year-old for Ireland, then it'll be panic stations if he's not starting in the Six Nations this time next year, I would think. Or otherwise, it's the same shtick again, unless Joey Carberry gets fit and comes through. But we'll talk about that with Niamh and Keith. It's not easy for Andy Farrell. I mean, if you're Andy Farrell right now, you know, it's all very well to sit here in this cosy studio and sip coffee and make these projections. Andy Farrell really needs to beat France on Sunday, you know, and Johnny Sexton's his best bet at doing that. So you've sympathy for that as well. Rich, where are you taking us next?
To Melbourne, Novak Djokovic was made to battle for his place in the Australian Open third round earlier today. The top seed and defending champion needed 4 sets to beat Francis Tiafoe. 2014 winner Stan Wawrinka was beaten in 5 by Martin Fucsovics, and third seed Dominic Thiem and seventh seed Alexander Zverev both progressed in straight sets. Women's second seed Simona Halep was another to make work for their place in round 3. She needed to go the distance to beat Anna Tomljanovic. 2019 finalist Petra Kvitova was beaten by Romania's Sorana Cirstea, but Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka were both straight sets victors this morning. Also through to round 3 is last year's beaten finalist Gabi Muguruza and the 27 seed Ons Jabeur.
Matter of interest, any of you two watching the tennis?
Little bits and pieces here and there where I can, yeah.
Not so far.
Yeah, same.
I get my nightly update from Richie, and that'll keep me going until next week.
Yeah. Where are we going next? Joe Hodge.
Yeah. It's been hailed as a coup, this one, by Derry City. The Republic of Ireland under-19 midfielder is going to spend the season on loan from Manchester City, where Hodge was named Scholar of the Year last season prior to signing his first senior terms with the Premier League leaders.
Even my dad has a crush on Harry Byrne. He says he's big and looks the real deal and is quick. Bod and Rog, are only copying off my dad, says Barry. Fair point, Barry. And then Owen says, Spieth is like Seabiscuit. He is a bit like Seabiscuit, Nathan. The underdog, plucky, brave.
Brave. Yes, he is just that. Is he the underdog?
He is now.
Okay.
Any other equine similarities?
Not that we know of. That'd be more Brooks Koepka, I'd say.
Oh my God. Chelsea then, they are... It's ridiculous. Everybody is playing in Bucharest is the general situation here.
Yeah, all in the pool. The away leg of Chelsea's Champions League last 16 tie with Atletico Madrid is going to be played in the Romanian capital. The match on the 23rd of February has been switched from Spain to Romania because of coronavirus restrictions. The second leg is due to take place as planned at Stamford Bridge next month. And just to bring it back to that Instagram story as well, because this has been in the news a lot over the last couple of weeks, Instagram says it will take tougher action on people who send abusive messages following recent incidents of racism aimed at footballers. New measures will include removing accounts of users who continue to break the rules and developing stricter controls for direct messaging. Manchester United and England forward Marcus Rashford, along with a couple of his United teammates, Axel Tuanzebe and Anthony Martial, among those who reported being racially abused on social media. Jonathan Afolabi, the Republic of Ireland underage striker as well, another to report that racism online.
All this week, we're giving away a €300 Aldi voucher each night in celebration of Valentine's week. Love and lockdown may be a little different this February 14th, Nathan, but some things stay the same. So if you're planning to cook an award-winning steak, bottle of bubbly, or pick up the perfect bouquet of roses this week, just drop into one of the 145 Aldi stores nationwide to be in with a chance of winning. And by all accounts, by the way, the interest in this competition is off the scale the last 2 nights.
I'm just remembering back to this time last year.
Yeah.
Because we do love our good friends in Aldi. Did they not send in some nice bouquets of flowers and we had them there in studio, and then maybe some presenters may have brought them home?
That's true. A couple of presenters were in the good books last Valentine's Day.
I'm just putting it out there.
Aldi.
Maybe they arrived in and this whole working from home is really... It's come back to bite me.
Aldi,
I'd like to point out to our friends at Aldi that I'm working from home.
Well, Aldi, we can furnish you with home addresses. Come on, step up here, for God's sake. But apparently the €300 Aldi voucher on offer here is driving people bananas. I mean, we're getting record entries. So, to be in with a chance of winning your €300 Aldi voucher, just identify our sporting legend this evening. Here is your clue, and there's always a Valentine's theme here. This golfer has captained the US President's Cup team 3 times. I mean, that's no clue. But he sounds like a pair of people in love.
What? Annoying?
No. What would you call a pair of... What would you call 2 people who are together? They're a...
couple?
Settling?
Okay, let's not give the answer completely.
Oh, sorry. I presume the answer was Davis Love III.
No.
Oh,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
That'll be tomorrow night.
Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents.
I got that.
Yeah, no, it's 2 people in love is the clue. Your name and answer 53106, 30 cents. We'll announce the winner at the end of the show. And it's all the thanks to Aldi. If you're planning on getting married later this year or next year, by the way, you can check out their Twitter channel where they have €5,500 worth of flowers and wine in their walking up the aisle competition. There you go. Nathan is a disgrace. Oh, I don't know if I should finish this.
I see you got my text.
There either.
Sorry.
That's libelous.
What is this? I don't know.
Did JP write this?
Yeah, he may have. I don't know what this is. I don't know what
Give
that
it a
is.
proofread. I'll just remind people while you're proofreading that, Joe, that Manchester City have actually won that FA Cup tie. They've beaten Swansea by 3-1. Leicester and Brighton scoreless after 5 minutes. Sheffield United and Bristol City scoreless after 3. Now.
No, I'm leaving it. I can't trust that. Sorry. So we're done. Nathan Murphy, not a disgrace.
We'll
not
talk
a disgrace.
about it on the Newsround tomorrow night.
Yes, okay. This may be innocuous, but I'm not confident. So we're going to take a short ad break. We have. I've made it sound way worse than it is now, by the way. It's just a joke of some kind. We've got Christopher Clary coming up next, talking Australian Open tennis. We have Keith Wood and Niamh Briggs on the way after 8 o'clock Wednesday Night Rugby.
It gives people in town hope. It gives them something outside of the norm. Something special.